There are movements inside the church that don't make headlines, don't show up in broadcasted services, and aren't even discussed in Sunday Bible studies. Most young Christians, leaders, and even the most devoted believers have no idea that right now, a quiet revolution is happening within the walls of the Vatican. A revolution that doesn't shout but whispers. And the one leading this historic shift is none other than Pope Leo XIV. Unlike sermons that inspire through words, he's inspiring through action. He's quietly reorganizing the church's structures, bringing a change that touches faith, spirituality, and even how Christianity positions itself in today's world. And believe me, this is no small matter. So, in this video, we're revealing something impactful. Pope Leo XIV is cleaning house, and 6 cardinals risk being removed. Maybe you haven't heard about this yet, but this decision could profoundly change the course of the church. To strengthen our unity in prayer, write in the comments, "Lord, protect and enlighten Pope Leo XIV in his mission." A simple gesture that fortifies our faith. Now, follow along as we share the details of this cleansing stirring things up in the Vatican. For those who think everything in the church follows an unchanging script, get ready to be surprised. What's happening inside is not just a reshuffling of seats. It's a true redesign of the very spiritual and administrative architecture of the Catholic Church. Pope Leo XIV didn't step into the papacy to please people. He came to correct paths, dismantle fragile structures, and reinforce the pillars of religion, the gospel, and Christian doctrine. Imagine, for example, someone inheriting a century-old house, beautiful on the outside but full of hidden leaks. What do? They truly renovate, even if it means tearing down walls. That's exactly what he's doing, cleaning, reorganizing, restoring. And once this process starts, the effects don't stop. And here's what's curious. This transformation isn't done under bright spotlights. There are no praise concerts or spectacular interviews. It happens quietly in the Vatican's hallways, in discreet meetings, private prayers, encounters no one sees, but that shape the future of more than 1 billion believers around the world. This silent revolution smells strongly of a return to Christianity's roots, a firmer gospel, a deeper spirituality, and a church refocusing on what truly matters. And if you think this doesn't directly affect your life, your faith, your prayer moments, just wait until you understand the global impact, because what starts in the Vatican never stays just there. It's a mistake to think that decisions made behind the Vatican walls only concern the Church itself. Quite the opposite. Every strategic move, every decree, every doctrinal choice echoes through billions of lives across all continents. After all, we're talking about one of the oldest and most influential institutions on the planet. One that not only guides spirituality, faith, and prayer for millions, but also holds immense weight in social, cultural, political, and even economic matters. What happens at the heart of the Church affects not only young Christians searching for meaning, but entire families who live by Christian values and gospel teachings. And if you believe it doesn't reach you, get ready, because it does, much more than you imagine. What few realize is that a simple change in the tone of a papal sermon, the way a service is conducted, or a doctrinal definition directly influences how thousands of dioceses operate worldwide. Think about it. Schools, hospitals, NGOs, Catholic universities, missions, and youth Christian movements. All of these environments, in some way, follow what comes out of the Vatican's corridors. It's no exaggeration to say that a devotional guideline encouraging more worship and Bible study, for instance, can strengthen community bonds, spark waves of solidarity, and even shift public policies in predominantly Catholic countries. This goes far beyond religion. It touches the very fabric of society. And here's the crucial point few dare to speak out loud. When Pope Leo XIV decides to start structural reform, he's not just rearranging roles and offices. In practice, he's reshaping how over 1 billion people live their faith, see the world, raise their children, and face spiritual challenges. That, my friend, is no small thing. The decision to strengthen doctrine, restore clarity to traditions, and encourage a spirituality deeply rooted in the gospel doesn't just impact the Church internally. It ripples into social behavior, international relations, and even how secular media views Christianity today. And, believe me, all of this has much more to do with your life than you might think, especially once you understand who this man called Leo XIV truly is. When the name Leo XIV was announced to the world, millions of the faithful, and even those inside the Vatican itself, were stunned. After all, no one, absolutely no one, expected that quiet, humble, deeply prayerful man would take the throne of Peter. But that's where the mystery of divine action lies. God doesn't choose the obvious. He chooses those who, in the silence of their faithfulness, carry a mission the world hasn't yet understood. Leo XIV appears as a true sign of the times, God's answer to a church thirsty for authenticity, coherence, and holiness. His path wasn't marked by spotlights or a hunger for power. Quite the opposite. Leo XIV has always been known for his spiritual rigor, his silent devotion, a life shaped by prayer, fasting, and deep contemplation of the gospel. While many sought positions, visibility, or influence within the church, he remained faithful to the small things: hidden service, spiritual guidance to thirsty souls, and the eternal teachings of the Word. And it was precisely this humility that earned not only the admiration of his fellow cardinals, but, above all, heaven's approval. And here's what must be said clearly: Leo XIV isn't just another pope. He's a watershed moment. His election wasn't the result of human deals or internal politics. It was a choice that surprised men but was clearly written in God's plan. And you know why. Because his mission goes far beyond administration. He came to restore, to raise again the pillars of faith, to ignite in Catholic hearts a flame that seemed to be dying out, and to lead the Church through a decisive time, where there's no room left for a shallow, lukewarm, or diluted faith. And it all starts right now. The white smoke rose, and with it, the hearts of millions of faithful beat faster. Expectation, tension, and curiosity filled St. Peter's Square. But when the name of the new pope was announced, Leo XIV, the whole world fell into stunned silence, followed by amazement. No one, absolutely no one, saw that name coming. It was as if heaven itself had torn up human plans and predictions to make one thing clear: the Church isn't ruled by men. It is God's. The entire Vatican was shocked. Cardinals, journalists, religious leaders, theologians, the faithful. Everyone asked, what just happened? Where did he come from? What does this mean? Social media exploded, news programs cut in, experts scrambled to explain the unexplainable. But the truth was, no one had a rational answer for that moment. This was more than an election. It was a sign. A call from above. An urgent summons for a new era. And here's the most striking detail. The name Leo XIV wasn't chosen by chance. In church tradition, names carry missions. Leo is a symbol of strength, courage, and protection of the faith. It's also the name of popes who, in the past, defended the Church from heresies, persecutions, and grave crises. So, his name sends a quiet but powerful message to the whole world: this pope has come to fight, to protect, to restore what was broken and put God's house in order. And this is exactly where the most impactful revelations of this new era in the Church begin. Within hours, it seemed like the entire world stopped. Headlines spoke of nothing else. Political and religious leaders, and even those with no ties to the Christian faith, were left speechless. After all, who is Leo XIV? Where did he come from? And, most importantly, why did God allow him to be elected? The Vatican was buzzing. Inside and outside its walls, conversations echoed the same question: what happens now? But something even stronger began to take hold. Thousands of faithful around the world started feeling a strange mix. Shock, yes, but also hope. A hope unseen for a long time. Because behind all the surprise, many realized this pope wasn't the product of human maneuvering. He was the result of prayer, of providence, of divine intervention. As if heaven was saying, "My church will not be overcome. I am raising up my soldiers." And here's what's even more surprising. While some feared the changes to come, others knelt down, prayed, gave thanks. Because they sensed something extraordinary was about to happen. Something that could not only change the Church's history, but also the spiritual destiny of millions of souls. And if you think that's all, get ready. What comes next will help you understand why this election was truly the spark of a spiritual revolution, both inside the Church and across the whole world. Imagine a name that, just weeks ago, wasn't even on the list of favorites, or even considered. A silent, discreet cardinal, but one whose life was marked by three unshakable pillars: prayer, fidelity to doctrine, and the courage to defend truth, no matter the cost. That's Leo XIV, a man who never sought the spotlight, yet God placed him exactly where he wanted. Born in a small African town, he spent much of his pastoral life on mission. He walked to villages, heard confessions for hours, and celebrated simple masses. No luxury, no ceremony, but filled with a spiritual power few could truly grasp. He was always known for one phrase that now seems almost prophetic: "If the world rejects the light, I will be a candle burning until the end." Why was he chosen? Because in times of darkness, God picks those who remain hidden. Those who don't seek glory but live on their knees. And here's a detail few know. His election was marked by signs many are already calling supernatural. If you think that's powerful, wait until you hear what he revealed right after being chosen, words that took the whole world's breath away. Everyone expected the usual words, the formal greetings, the speeches about unity, peace, and hope. But what came from the new Pope's lips was more than a greeting. It was a call, a warning, almost a prophetic shout from heaven. With a firm voice, a piercing gaze, and a calmness that felt otherworldly, he declared before millions, "This is the time of decision. We either stay with Christ, or we will be swallowed by the darkness already spreading over humanity." Silence swept across St. Peter's Square, as if heaven itself was listening. He went on, "Relativism, silent apostasy, and spiritual indifference have opened the doors to the enemy. I was not elected to please, I was called to lead. And leading means, above all, reminding the world that without conversion, there is no salvation." No one expected a start like this. There was no room for surface-level talk. In that moment, it became clear. This would not be a pope who simply managed crises, but a man raised by God for a spiritual battle unlike any before. And what he did in the first hours of his papacy left the entire world in spiritual shock. While the world was still absorbing the Pope's striking words, something unexpected happened. Just hours after the election, the gates of the Vatican opened to welcome a figure many thought had long been sidelined from power: Cardinal Robert Sarah. Yes, the prophetic voice, tireless defender of liturgy, tradition, and truth, who had been silent and away from the spotlight for some time. His face carried the serenity of the saints and the firmness of the prophets. Many in the Curia were stunned. What was this man doing there so quickly? Why had he been called? The answer began to spread like a divine whisper backstage. The Pope needs him. Because this won't be a political administration, it will be a spiritual mission. And for that, soldiers of light are necessary. The meeting was behind closed doors. No one knows exactly what was said, but witnesses say that when Cardinal Sarah left, he carried a sealed envelope with a papal crest, his face a mix of seriousness and peace. Something very important was about to be announced, and anyone who thought they knew how the Vatican worked realized that day God was in charge, and heaven's plans were far beyond human logic. Just hours after that mysterious meeting, the Vatican erupted. Journalists, cardinals, bishops, all trying to figure out what was happening. Then came the official announcement. Yes, that envelope held a decision no one could have imagined. Breaking with old protocols, the Pope created a new office in church history, Prefect of Vigilance and Defense of the Faith. A title never before seen, combining three vital roles: spiritual watchfulness, preservation of doctrine, and fighting both internal and external attacks against the Church. And who was appointed? none other than Cardinal Robert Sarah, a man who, though distant, never stopped being God's sentinel. A man who, in silence, prepared like a swordsmith sharpens his blade, waiting for the call from above. The announcement sparked immediate reactions. Some celebrated, others grew uneasy, because they knew this appointment sent a clear message. The time for complacency is over. The Church is returning to its roots, returning to prayer, returning to vigilance. From that moment on, the whole world understood that something was stirring in the heavens. The days ahead wouldn't just be historic, they would be spiritual, prophetic, and decisive for the future of the Church and humanity. At the first gatherings after the announcement, the impact on young Christian communities was clear. For many, this quiet revolution in the Vatican sparked a flame of hope, a call to renew authentic faith rooted in prayer, Bible study, and deep devotion. After all, young people are always searching for a Christianity that speaks to their hearts, that fearlessly proclaims the truth of the gospel, and that inspires real, vibrant testimonies of faith. Many began meeting with renewed passion, eager to better understand Scripture and doctrine, and to dive into worship and praise that strengthen both personal and communal spirituality. On the other hand, this structural change brought some unease. Moving from a church that valued closeness and inclusion to one focused on clearer doctrine and moral firmness left some feeling uncomfortable, worried that vibrant worship and praise might be stifled by rigid, distant rules. This tension reveals a real challenge for the Church: how to balance lively worship and the freedom of the Holy Spirit with discipline and clarity of God's Word. It's a moment calling young people to deepen their spiritual discernment, study the Bible more deeply, and hold fast to their faith even amid uncertainty. For church leaders, this is a crucial time for preaching and dialogue, where they must nurture a spirituality that blends tradition with innovation, faith with reason, prayer with action. Encouraging young believers to witness their faith in their communities, and to use social media to spread the gospel with passion and truth, is one way to show how Christianity can renew itself without losing its roots. After all, the real revolution starts in the heart of each believer, especially the younger generation, who are the future of the Church. When the Vatican makes profound decisions, their impact reaches far beyond church walls, echoing through culture and society at large. Faith and religion shape values, customs, and even public policies in many nations, especially where Christianity is deeply rooted. So, the changes brought by Pope Leo XIV don't just affect the Church's internal spirituality. They influence conversations in schools, legislatures, and cultural spaces. For example, reaffirming clearer doctrine and taking a firm stance on moral issues shapes debates around human rights and educational programs in communities. This catches the attention of young Christians, who often wrestle with the tension between faith traditions and modern world pressures. Moreover, this leadership shift sparks a new dynamic in worship and services. The Church now encourages greater community involvement, with more Bible studies and structured devotional times to strengthen both personal and communal spirituality. This change directly affects how the Church acts socially, expanding its role in healthcare, social assistance, and promoting human dignity. The gospel stops being just a Sunday message or sermon. It becomes practical actions and living testimonies of faith that touch people's daily lives. Finally, these Vatican decisions also affect international diplomacy. As a global institution, the Church uses its voice to mediate conflicts, promote peace, and defend Christian values worldwide. Pope Leo XIV's strategic vision calls for a more assertive stance in international relations, opening doors for new agreements but also sparking resistance and tension. What's at stake isn't just politics or power, but the Church's spiritual mission to guide humanity along the path of faith, prayer, and true worship. Every major transformation, especially in such an ancient and complex institution as the Catholic Church, inevitably faces resistance. Pope Leo XIV is leading a revolution that challenges long-established structures, causing palpable tension among cardinals and influential clergy. Many still loyal to Pope Francis's legacy view this renewed central control with suspicion, and dissent sometimes threatens the unity and spirit of worship. Faith, so precious, is tested during these confrontations, as the spirituality of the people and the Church's doctrine come under pressure from internal divisions. Yet, this is not merely a political struggle but a spiritual challenge calling the faithful to intense prayer and discernment. Resistance is found not only in the hierarchy but also in the hearts of many believers who, for various reasons, fear change or feel confused about the Church's new direction. The Gospel, always relevant, offers the strength needed to face these crises, and through worship and praise, the Church must nurture a peace that surpasses all understanding, keeping its focus on the mission and biblical study that fortifies faith. This delicate balance demands wisdom and patience, qualities Pope Leo XIV has shown by acting firmly without losing the ability to engage in dialogue. This silent revolution is far from an easy path, but the future of Christianity and the Church's spiritual health depend on such courage. Among the challenges is the need to educate young Christians to understand why these changes matter and to become active leaders of this new era, keeping alive the witness of faith and the spirituality that nourishes the entire community. Pope Leo XIV is shaping a new kind of leader for the Vatican, someone who reflects a deep awareness of today's church and world. Rather than relying only on traditional or purely academic figures, he seeks out younger cardinals with broad vision and a strong presence on social media, true messengers of the gospel for the 21st century. This renewal isn't just about age, it's about spirit and adaptability. It's a hopeful bet on leaders who understand the importance of spirituality combined with effective communication, able to engage young Christians who are the future of the faith. Regional diversity is also stepping into the spotlight. Africa, Asia, and Latin America, places where faith is growing vigorously, are the main sources for these new leaders. This decentralization of power and appreciation for different cultures within Christianity encourages a rich spiritual and devotional exchange, strengthening the universal church as a whole. It's not just a strategy to expand, but a way to broaden the witness of faith, making it more accessible, relatable, and alive in varied contexts, encouraging praise and worship in every corner of the world. Another revolutionary step is the genuine opening for women's roles in leadership and church life, something long awaited by many faithful. Giving women more space, not just in administrative roles but in areas that influence doctrine and biblical studies, means strengthening spirituality and prayer as powerful forces transforming Christianity. Though this shift comes with challenges, it clearly shows the Church is alive, vibrant, and ready for a future where faith expresses itself in all its colors, always guided by Jesus Christ and the Gospel. The influence of the Catholic Church goes far beyond parish walls and worship rituals. It shapes politics, education, healthcare, and culture in countless nations worldwide. When the Vatican changes course, those changes ripple out to impact billions of lives. Think about health policies that affect care for life from conception to its natural end, or teachings guiding young Christians in schools and families, shaping core values for a more humane and compassionate society. Faith, grounded in the Bible and Gospel, isn't just religion. It's a driving force behind real, everyday actions. Vatican diplomacy also plays a vital role during times of conflict and peace. As Pope Leo XIV reshapes the power structure, he's also redirecting this diplomacy toward a moral assertiveness that influences nations on human rights, social justice, and peace. This kind of spiritual leadership ensures that the principles of worship and praise to Jesus Christ aren't confined to the sanctuary but resonate in public life, encouraging efforts for the common good. The Church, then, stands as an active agent, able to wisely and firmly transform complex realities. Ultimately, this shift at the Vatican directly strengthens global spirituality, especially among young Christians. By fostering a clearer, more structured church with firm doctrine, Pope Leo XIV inspires worship that's deeper, full of meaning and commitment. This quiet revolution invites all of us to re-examine our own devotional lives, encouraging prayer that's intentional and Bible study that reaches beyond the surface. After all, transforming the Church means transforming hearts, families, and communities, and that, without a doubt, matters to the whole world.